What's up, guys? We're here at AMC Town Square with Chasing Cinema.
Mr. James
Shoe.com. And do we have the nomination for the next big Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress with The Post?
It's a good question.
I mean, we have the Queen, Meryl Streep.
Yeah, playing Kay Graham. At the point of the movie, the owner of the Washington Post, which was not as big as it is now. Washington Post is obviously the top of the line, but it wasn't big at this time. Yeah, and the New York Times is really big in this movie. They both, they both kind of play really important roles. So if you aren't familiar with the Post's story, Steven Spielberg's new film focuses on the Washington Post getting their hands on some material from the New York Times. And New York Times, through a pretty much an insane amount of events, gets a hold of government documents that were saying that presidents for years knew that we weren't going to win the Vietnam War, but kept troops in Vietnam, including John F. Kennedy and Nixon, keeping the morale of the country that we're going to win this. And the New York Times released the information, some of it, like released some of these documents, these 100 or so documents, detailing this information. And of course, the District Attorney General was like, "You publish any more of government secrets, you're going to jail." You know, in a very brief sense, we're like, "We're going to take you to court." So the New York Times said, "Fine, we'll abide by the government. We'll be good citizens. We don't want no treason here." And it falls into the hands of Tom Hanks' character, whose name is Ben Bradley. And he kind of brings it to Meryl Streep, who runs the paper, that we should publish this stuff. And pretty much the majority of the movie is Meryl Streep's character, Kay Graham, really debating on if it is worth challenging the government in and of itself to publish the news. And? Sound familiar? If there's anything about this movie to take away, that it's really, really current right now, and they don't let you forget it. I think this is one of Steven Spielberg's better movies as of late. I think I would favor it over Bridge of Spies, definitely the BFG. I don't know about Lincoln, but it is up there with that, you know. And I think Steven Spielberg's movies have been definitely more subtle, but obviously a lot of people love Bridge of Spies. I thought it was good, but I didn't love it. Did you see Bridge of Spies?
No, I couldn't, dog.
Okay, so obviously
I couldn't.
But we all know one thing is that movies about newspapers tend to get a lot of awards, right? Like everyone, you know, the critics who are journalists love movies about journalists. But I found The Post to be fine. I didn't really, I mean really good. I shouldn't say fine. Meryl Streep, of course, is great, and I would be shocked if she didn't get an award just because of who she is, and I know that sounds like,
you think she'll win Best Actress?
I don't think she'll win Best Actress, but like with the amount of, I mean, if she could get nominated for a movie like, oh man, I can't think of that movie from last year which she was in that was awful.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the singing one, I can't remember the name. But if she could get nominated for something like that, or like the movies that have been much argued, like for having something like this, it would be shocking for her not to get nominated because the Academy loves her, America loves her, and who better to talk about the idea of news, you know, like it's just great controversy, right? And I'm not taking sides, I'm not trying to be political, but I mean, controversy is controversy, and no matter what side you're on, they want controversy. Tom Hanks is good. I don't think he's as good as Meryl Streep. I think Meryl Streep is obviously much better in the movie. There are a lot of subtle performances in this movie that are much smaller. A lot of great, I mean, you see talent all around you. Bob Odenkirk from Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. You have Alex Cross, who is also really good, but has a role that doesn't do much. Sarah Paulson plays Tom Hanks' wife. You have a lot of people in this movie that you recognize, but don't really have much to do. But you know, this is like, you know, we're an Oscar movie, man. We gotta have a good cast, and all that's true. And the ensemble is quite good. But I just don't think the movie really moved me in a super emotional way. I mean, of course, the movie kind of comes down to, spoiler alert, if you don't know what happens, the Post publishes this stuff, you know, and they eventually go to the Supreme Court, and Congress is brought in, and there's like, no. And of course, like one of the closing remarks kind of goes to a character on the phone saying, "Oh, the Supreme Court has ruled in our favor," and that the journalism and the press, because freedom of press, which is obviously our First Amendment, is meant to inform the governed, not the governing, you know, like obviously sticking it to the man right now. And it just feels like at the end that we're kind of being force-fed this message, and which is very clear from the trailer, you know, which is clear from the get-go. But then it becomes very apparent like what we're trying to say here. And while I think it's good, and you know, being someone who writes for a newspaper, whether it be at the university level and someone who, you know, really cares about the importance of writing, obviously this movie, the integrity of it as well, I find it to be something very valuable in this movie. But like, I couldn't put this on the level of Spotlight. I don't think it was able to really create the intensity. Well, I do think in moments they are very intense, and obviously going against the government is a really, really scary notion. It just didn't capture all those emotions with me. And you know, every time I think about it and people talk about it, which I believe it was not, it was out of New York or LA. Oh no, excuse me. I'm forgetting the Board of Review. The Board of Review elected this as Best Picture. So like already the Board of Review, which is highly respected and highly acclaimed, already chose this movie as Best Picture. You know, something that I said, you know, is very common for newspaper movies. So I don't know if this movie...
before seeing Star Wars: The Last Jedi?
Oh, I'm sure the people on the National Board of Review already saw Star Wars. I'm sure they've seen pretty much everything. So I don't know. To me, this movie was good. It was effective at stating its message, but I didn't feel that it was as good as some of the other stuff I was watching. I don't want to say it was pandering, but it definitely didn't feel like it was giving all of their all. Meryl Streep, of course, is great. She's great in anything, and I'm sure she'll get nominated. She wouldn't be my pick for Best Actress. Tom Hanks wouldn't be my pick for Best Actor, but I think this movie does hold some importance. And...
Steven Spielberg, Best Director?
No. I mean,
Best Ensemble?
To me, no. Will he get nominated? I could see it happening. Because obviously with the Hollywood being more liberal and like them having such a stand obviously against The Office right now, the current state of The Office, and the attack on Hollywood, as we kind of saw with Meryl Streep, for instance, it would be shocking to me they don't kind of like use this as a dagger to poke the right and kind of voice the opinions of like, oh, we cherish art, we cherish writing, we cherish journalism, and we cherish that freedom.
Fake news.
Yeah, exactly. This is what this movie's about, is that they got the idea of fake news and being able to not be told what you can and cannot publish. And I think on that level, it's important. But I would say this is one of those situations, bless you, good sir, it's one of those situations where the message obviously elevated the importance of the movie. And for all my Marvel fans, if you want a great Marvel ending, The Post gives that to you. And the most oddest, strangest close I think I've ever seen in a movie this way. It is an after credit scene that isn't after the credits. So as the story comes to a close, again, I'm sure. I mean, it's not a spoiler. This movie, that's not important.
Trust me, anyone who's watching this review, the last thing they're gonna be saying is, "Oh my God, the spoiler of that we're gonna see has been given."
So after we have had this victory, and our character Tom Hanks is talking to Meryl Streep, and they're like, "Well, this is important because you know journalists need to have the opportunity to report the real news, even if it's against the man in the Oval Office." You know, again, wink, wink to us, telling us about who's in office right now. But the movie then comes to a close, and then it cuts to a security officer, and he hears something. And he's moving his flashlight, and he opens up these doors, and the movie pulls out. And because we already kind of know, like with the time frame, we know what we're getting with Nixon, right? Like we have the idea of like this movie is talking about the eventually leading into Watergate, and then but the ending we have this.
And they show that famous scene.
Well, not the famous scene, but like we know that's coming, right? Anyway, if you know anything about historical events, particularly Watergate, you know that's what they're talking about when they're saying like, we need to be able to challenge anyone. I hope for this comes to light, if it ever comes to light again, to challenge the Oval Office. But then we cut to this, like, just this scene of the security guard, like, looking around this office. He opens this door, and we have all these guys rummaging through these files as it pans out to this city view, and we hear, yeah, we have a break-in here on Watergate. Trailers. It's like, oh my God. If that was not an after-credit scene for a Steven Spielberg movie, I don't know what is. It feels very weird. It feels very, like, oddly placed because like you said, anyone who's watching this should know the inference of Watergate, and we don't need the actual, like, discovery of, like, the mystery of it. And I couldn't get over that. And I'm sure you're, like, probably annoyed right now by the length of this review because it's so detailed. But, yeah, it was interesting.
Do you think I like this? Because right now I don't even know if I can watch it.
Did you like Spotlight?
Spotlight was different. I did
Yeah.
enjoy that. But like Steven Spielberg's Bridge of Spies, I couldn't even give him. I can watch.
But was it because of the pace or was it because of the time?
Time, and then BFG.
Oh yeah.
No, and then this one don't look good. But Steven Spielberg's next one, I'll be the first one in line.
Yeah.
Line meaning our own private theater.
I would recommend
to ourselves.
Everyone should go see The Post. I think it really does have an important message.
Yeah,
and it's very timely.
Just because you said that, not watching it.
But I don't see you being a favorite of yours.
Okay.
But it is tough. Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep.
Okay.
So.
ChasingCinema.com.
Known as
Film Lovers website.